Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be installing the Nextbase Dashcam. In my previous video, I did an unboxing of it. So just for reference, I'm going to be installing the Nextbase 422 GW Dashcam. And it comes with a cigarette lighter, but I'm choosing to do the Hardwire kit. So I'll show you guys how to do that as well in this video. Now the primary advantage to using the Hardwire kit is that it frees up your cigarette lighter. So in my case, I'm using the cigarette lighter right now temporarily to power my radar detector. So the way that the car is configured, I wouldn't be able to use two ports unless I get a splitter. And if I get a splitter, now it's gonna just look way too cluttered over there. And plus I like everything nice and clean. So later on, I'm also gonna be hardwiring my radar detector to my fuse box as well. Now, before we get started, I am doing this in a parking lot because I had to pick up something else for the car anyway at Pep Boys, and I'm just gonna do it here as well, just in case if I do need to pick up a secondary fuse or something like that during the process, so I don't have to drive back and forth. And I'll show you, it's relatively easy, it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't require a whole lot of mechanical knowledge or anything like that, or electrical knowledge. It's pretty much a plug and play system, and I'm gonna go with the hardwire route, but you can still use the same exact method to do the cigarette lighter. The only difference would be at the very end when I show you how to hardwire it, you would just run the wire a little bit longer to wherever your cigarette port is. So stay tuned and let's get started. So one of the first things we're gonna do, make sure actually before you begin the install, you've read the instructions. You do need to charge this for about 2 hours indoors using the micro USB cable that it comes with and like your phone charger. That way you can set up the Bluetooth, you can set up the Nextbase app and all of that kind of stuff. So as soon as you get into the car, it's just gonna be a plug and play system. So make sure you kind of run it, you do your little bit of research and just go ahead and just get that done ahead of time. So now the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna attach the mount. So to do that, you're just gonna lift this cover, set it off to the side. And now you have this, and there's only one direction it can go. So it's a magnet and kind of stays in place just like that. Now there's two options. So you can use the 3M sticky and adhere it straight to your windshield, or if you want the ability to move it around, just push this side piece right here so you can see it. So push this with just a little bit of force. It'll snap off just like that. And now you have the option to slide on this component. So there you go. So now you can use, so you can put it up and now it's locked. So you can use a suction. So this allows you to move it from time to time or just take it off if you want to. But I don't have a second car right now and I am just gonna keep it with the adhesive mount. So I'm just gonna attach this back on. And now the first thing you wanna do is figure out where you want your camera to be placed. So if I show you guys, in my situation, I want it to be placed on the passenger side. Why? Because if you look at the design, the camera is on the left and the mount is on the right. So if I was to put this on the driver's side, it would stick out and it would kind of block my vision in that case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it on this side, so that way it gives me like a nice clean look. And again, as I mentioned in the video, I don't usually review the footage on the dash cam anyway for the most part. And plus this one has the ability to transfer it through my phone. So I'm gonna go that way. So you can see it's positioned here. And now when you position it, what you wanna make sure is that you're looking closely to make sure that it's centered. You don't want something that's off center or anything like that. You can position this later. It has full 360 degrees. So you can see it's on a little swivel. So you can move this around. So you have a little bit of flexibility compared to the other ones. But just go ahead, position this to your preference, wherever you like. All you have to make sure is in the video, it's level and that the vehicle, whatever is there, is gonna be centered in the screen. You don't want too much of the sky and you don't want too much of the ground. So go ahead, take some time, position this, and also go ahead and clean your windshield off with any kind of glass cleaner or anything like that, maybe some isopropyl alcohol, just to make sure it's a nice and clean surface before you permanently attach this on here. So just give me a few minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and do that while I put the phone off to the side. So first thing we're gonna plug in is we're gonna plug in the power cord. So go ahead, position that in there. And what I like about this power cord compared to the other one, you don't have this little clip in here for the interference. Now you can reposition this if you want to. I think it's just easy to just snap it off and move it around, but I don't want to deal with all of that. I also need a cigarette lighter just because I have a radar detector here. So we're gonna go ahead. There we go. So that is in. And now you're gonna be using the trim tool, which is this component right here. And you're just gonna put a little bit of pressure and you're gonna lift it up so you can tuck the wire in behind it. I think in this car I might be able to leverage this component off.
24 hours later.
Well then, so that took a little bit longer than I actually hoped for. What I started to realize as I started to hide the wire is that it's a very tight gap that Audi has. So what I did is I just went out and I bought the Hardwire kit for the radar detector as well. That way I could just do 2 birds in 1 stone. Well, technically I did 3 birds in 1 stone because I have the radar detector hardwired, the front camera hardwired, and I ran the wire for the rear camera all the way too. So it took a little bit of time just hiding all the wires, and you know, unfortunately I wasn't able to do a full install video just because it became dark and the weird camera angles. But I did take MIDI videos and photos along the way, so I'm going to try to walk you guys through as much as possible. So I found it really helpful if you take the mirror cover off. So for reference, this is what it looks like right here. Now you can see from the clips on the side, you have 4 clips on the side. So what you want to do is you want to take that little trim tool and dig it into those corners, and then that should give you enough force to kind of just pull straight down, but make sure you pull at the same time. So what I did is I just started yanking from one side and I ended up breaking this clip right here. So you can see I did a terrible job at super gluing it, but I had to super glue that clip back just because I was yanking it from one side. But it's really going to help with the install process because trying to run the wire right here with the cover on is going to be impossible. It's so tight, and there's also a clip right there that you can see that prevents you from actually tucking in the wire. So this is what I did. I positioned my dash cam as we were talking about earlier. This is the rear camera wire, and I have both of these wires going up into the headliner. I didn't go into the mirror house. A lot of people are putting the wire here, but I didn't put it here because you would have to drill a hole. But by going straight up into the headliner, it's a very small gap. And I also mounted my radar detector too, so the wire is going up. Now I know the wires don't look super clean right now, but that's still a work in progress, and I'll probably have that done next time around. But for right now, it's working. And what I also did is I got rid of suction cups, and I put on this right here. I put on these dual fasteners from Scotch, extremely strong, holds up to about 10 pounds. So that way, this is now super robust. Like before, when I had the suction cups, it would constantly just fall due to temperature fluctuations. So that might be an option for you as well, if you are interested in hardwiring your radar detector. But then essentially, now just take your time and sort of run the wire along the headliner. You can pull this down with a little bit of force, and that should give it some give. Just keep going, working your way as much as possible, tucking it in. So now I'm going to jump over to the other side and show you guys what I did from there. So we just continued up and brought it through the headliner. Sorry about the awkward angle, but you can see here, this is where it's not clean. So this is the only place in the entire car, aside from where the connection points are to the respective components, where you can see the wire. Now the reason why you're seeing the wire here is because there's, I don't know, some type of clip or something holding this corner to the roof, and to take it off you'd have to disconnect that clip. Now I don't want to go through all that process and deal with that, so I just tucked it in as much as possible. Now if you look at it this way, you can't even see the wires from any angle. So even if you were to go down, so it's not that big of a deal for me. You can go ahead, by all means, take off that headliner if you're really interested, if that bothers you a lot. But it's also hidden for me with this with my work park pass, so I'm okay there. Then next thing you do is you're gonna run the wire through this. You can take the trim tool and push it in here and then pop it out just a little bit. Now there's a debate going on about if there's an airbag in here or not. Now I'm gonna put like a screenshot, or actually while the video is playing, I'll probably just show you a crash test for the 2017 Audi A4 specifically, and you'll see that this panel never comes off. It just does like a little breakaway, and you don't see the airbag being deployed from here. But again, this is only from what I've seen from the research I've done. If you have any other information related to that, please feel free to share. So knowing that, just keep that in mind. Be careful around your A-pillar regardless of what car you have, as well as up here. So there's typically side curtain airbags, and you don't want that to get deployed while you're shoving in the wire. So make sure you've done your research and you've looked at all the diagrams to understand where your airbags are. So in my case, I went ahead with that risk knowing that, and I just tucked the wire in, pulled this out just a little bit. I couldn't disconnect this for my life, so I just gave up on it. Damn Audis over here. But I ran the wire here, and then this was the most amount of fun. And by fun, I mean headache. So you run it along and you keep on going and going and going. And I stopped about right here. Now you can see that my rubber seal is flush against the actual trim. But I have 3 wires in here. I have the back camera, I have the front camera, and I also have my radar detector. So you can imagine with this very tight pillar and this very small gap, it took me forever to squeeze 3 wires in here, but I managed to do it. So if you only are doing one, it'll be a lot easier than what I had to go through. And I stopped it right here because there's a fuse box right here. So this powers a lot of your car electronics, like your infotainment center, your head-up display if you have one, your telephone, all of that kind of stuff. There's also the fuse clip in here in this thing. Now the way to take it off, you see this little corner right here, this little indent, stick a flathead in there, pry it open. And then what you want to do is you want to slightly pull this trim back, stick your finger in here, and lift off this piece right here. These 2 components will give you enough access, and then you can start taking the wire and start pulling it a little bit in here. So it gives you a little bit of give. Now you'll see from a screenshot or like a video that I'm going to also play while I'm talking over it, but you have the ability to use a ground in here, or you can use the ground where I did in that box panel down there. So the next step, what we did is I took a flathead and I pushed it into that clip right there, and I pulled it out. Now you're gonna have to push in before you start prying up, because you can see what I did is I started to deform the clip. It's a little hard to see, but I started to deform the clip by just prematurely starting to lift it up. So just keep that in mind. You're gonna have to push down deep and then lift up. Then it's held in place by a T30 Torx screw. So just go ahead, unthread that, and then you can still continue to run the wires. So I went along the back and then I brought it in. And then that's what I did here. So guys, I grounded the dash cam wire right here. So this is a 10 millimeter bolt. I just took off that washer, and I'll try to go in as far as possible, but you can see that I used that little slot that's there, and I tucked the wire in and I grounded it there. Now I'm also hardwiring my radar detector, so that's what the second ground wire is right here. And this is right next to the fuse box and the dead pedal. So you can use that as a mounting point for your ground, or you could use this bolt right here if you want to. I had a lot of difficulty trying to take this bolt off, so I just decided to stick with this one. Plus it allowed me to kind of tuck in the wire nice and clean. So this is how I hardwired it. I used the ADA circuit and I put it into this fuse box right here, into this fuse slot right here. So this is a 5 amp fuse, and I connected it. So this is basically power to my interior door lights. So if you were to hit this button right here, it's that. And you can see from the dash cam that there is a solid blue light, which means it's charging, as well as a red light, which means that it's on standby mode for recording. And you can confirm this right here on this LED indicator too. So you see blue light means input is okay. If it's flashing, it means input is okay. Solid and input means that input and output are okay. So this is the Audi circuit for the radar detector. So this 5 amp is the one I pulled out for the HomeLink system for garage openers. I don't have a garage, so I don't have to worry about it, and this will only turn on when the car is on. And then this amp is just 5 amp fuse that comes with the package when you buy the Audi circuit. I kind of like to keep it consistent. It's definitely not going to use 5 amps for a radar detector. It's going to use less, but I like to just keep the amp consistent instead of using a different one. So this is how it works. Since this connector comes with something like this, it comes with the T-tap. All you're gonna do is just slice the Audi circuit wire, and then I'll get some electrical tape and close this portion off. But this allows it to get powered. Now, if I was to try this right now, it would work. But what I'm gonna do is just close everything up and then test everything at once. All right, so there you guys go. I got both the dash cam, which you can see here, with its blue indicating light, as well as up here with that red, just means that it's in standby for recording mode. And if I was to just tap on the screen, you can see that it has a charging icon right there. So, and this is my radar detector, which is on too. So now watch what happens when I turn off the car. Radar detector goes off. This is still on, and so is the dash cam. You can see it's still charging, even with the car off. So with all of those wires now in, what we did to get to the back camera is I ran it this way, but then I went down. And I went all the way down, all the way, and see, this is where I mounted my radar detector mount thing. So here's my mute button, so I don't have to worry about it ever, and the LED light, so it's nice in stealth mode, by the way. And then I'm gonna go all the way around into the back where my finger is at the top, loop the wire around, and with this panel off, you'll be able to kind of shove the wire down here along this edge under this trim piece, then go underneath. So this way it allows you to not have to deal with the rubber seal. So with this car particularly, you have enough room. So just tuck it all the way in, keep going all the way around, all the way to the back, and then bring it up to the seatbelt cover right there, which I'll jump to next. So you can see that the wire is still out there. My hand is too fat to shove it in under the wall anymore, but I'll do that at a later time. It's also really cold. And then just run the wire, continue running it up. Then you can shove it in between this crevice right here, go around this corner first, and then shove it into this crevice. Now this is probably the easiest portion right here to hide the wire. There's no issues. Keep going up along the entire path, and then go along this edge right here. So I went under the seatbelt loop, and I went all the way around. It helps to drop this down, then go up, and you can see a little portion of the wire still sticking out right here. And then what I did is I popped off this cover right here. It's held in by just some clips, so just take a flathead, push in, pull the cover off, and just pull it towards you. So once you have that pulled off, then you can start to wire the rear view camera, and you can position the rear view camera to whatever preference you want. Now, one thing to note with the rear view camera, you see how the wire sticks out? So just keep that in mind, because it's on a magnetic swivel. So you just want to be careful with that, because if you don't give it enough slack, you're not gonna get the right angle. And also, you're gonna have to either position it up here, here, or here. I wanted to ideally position it on this thing, but the camera doesn't allow for enough flexibility to shoot down. So this is the farthest it goes down because of the wire on the back. So just keep that in mind when you're doing it. So before you stick it, just go ahead and kind of position the camera and bring your front camera here and have it hooked up so you can kind of get an idea for where you want it to be. But that's how I wired the back one, and I hit everything nice and clean, and it doesn't obstruct my view either from there. And there you go. So you can see from my angle, you can not even see the dash cam, so from my vision, so this is exactly what I see. And I have no obstructions at all. Keeps it nice and clean. Radar detector too is also up there. Now again, if you look at it from this side, you see 3 wires, but I ride solo for 90% of my time, so I'm okay with just a couple of wires showing on this side as long as it's not bothering me. Maybe in the summertime, I'll probably go ahead and maybe try to update this, make it look a little cleaner, but for now, I'm really happy with the job. Now, one thing that does annoy me a lot is, as you can see, everything looks nice and clean. And then you got this ugly Easy Pass that has to be bright white for some odd reason. So I'm actually reading a lot of forums right now, and I'm going to FLATHEAD dip this, and since it works by an RFID scanner, so you don't need to worry about a whole lot of things. And I'm probably going to mount it something like this, out of here, like in the corner or somewhere else where, you know, it's not an eyesore, because when you look at it from the outside, it's just a giant white thing that's attached to your windshield, and I hate that. So that's going to be coming soon in another video. But yeah, that's it. And there you guys have it. So it took a little bit of time. I'd say probably set about anywhere from an hour and a half to about 2 hours for this job if you're planning to do all 3 components like I did. If you're planning to just do the dash cam, probably set aside maybe just an hour at most. The hardest part in this entire thing is literally just trying to get all the wires to be hidden. Now, if you want to use the same fuses that I did, so I'm using, again, the interior headliner lights to power the dash cam, so that way the dash cam stays on even when the car's off. And I'm using the HomeLink system, which is the garage opener, for the radar detector. So again, both are 5 amp fuses, and it's both devices are using very low current, and also both of them have built-in voltage detectors. So in the event that your battery voltage does drop, it'll cut off the power to that system, but it won't cut off power to the main system. So for example, your HomeLink will still work, as well as your interior headliner lights. So hopefully you guys found the video useful. I do apologize in advance. I know it's not a full install like the way I promised, but I tried my best to give you guys as much content as possible, and by giving you all the research that I've done, so that way you're better informed during this process too. So overall, it's just a little bit of extra elbow grease that you do got to put in. If you don't feel comfortable, I highly recommend just taking it to a professional and getting it done. But if you do feel comfortable, just take your time with it, and everything's gonna work out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks again for watching. Please share, subscribe, and like for future videos. See you guys soon.